Brandon.
Good evening, call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Hampden Board of Selectmen and the Board of Health being held in the Townhouse on June 24th, 2024. This meeting is being conducted in person and remotely. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is anyone recording the meeting other than ourselves? Seeing no one? If you do, please check in. Minutes of the June 10th, 2024 meeting. Discussion of Parks and Rec, several items within. Planning board was here to discuss the help the planning board needs. And the board of selectmen sent a transmittal regarding the change in the name from selectmen to select board at some point. We'll be on the town meeting. Dispatch, we signed the dispatch IMA, we made appointments to the fire department, the police department, the parking clerk, the town accountant, the building department, and the senior center building committee, and the water district, and the council on aging.
Minutes, motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Before we begin the meeting, the town administrator and selectman of best care to give us an update on the storm and the town response.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
So as you know, a big storm came through on Saturday, caught a lot of people by surprise, but the impact of the storm took out a lot of roads. Glendale, Bennett, South Munson, Thresher, Scantic, Stafford, Saint Germain, made pretty much the whole east part of the town impassable. I think at the height of the power outages, we had 500 homes without power. As of this morning, there was down to 112, and as of 5 p.m., we had 0 reporting on National Grid and MEMA, so that's good. We had a little bit of communication issues because obviously dispatch was overwhelmed, so communication between the departments was a little tricky, trying to coordinate closures and rounds and car movement, but we managed. Got a hold of our MEMA rep. We're looking to see if we can get one of their meteorologists to come down and take a look, just to kind of determine what it was that came through this area. Was it a microburst, small tornado? Unlikely, but at least to get some professional eyes on it. I want to thank the responses of fire department, police department, and highway coming in, and all staff was on hand to safely get everybody accounted for and around town, and no injuries, so that's good. We did meet briefly today with safety personnel just to kind of have a recap of their events, and I think the biggest thing we discussed and took away was we need to get better communication methods between the departments. So something we're going to be looking into in the future. Pretty much sums it up, Brian?
Yeah, and I think there was a general dissatisfaction with National Grid's preparation for the storm.
Well, there was that too.
It didn't seem to, it likely caught them by surprise, I think. So they had a pretty much skeleton crew on from what we're understanding. And then I think there was some frustrations because we had some of our departments out there and we saw National Grid trucks sort of idle. So there seemed to be some internal communications or lack of communications within the National Grid process between their tree crews and their line crews. So,
And there, I don't believe we saw a site foreman around at all during the height of the storm, so all the crews were relying on dispatch communications of their dispatch.
yep.
Is there no possibility then there would be, I thought I saw that the damage in Munson was pretty much contiguous with our
It
damage.
is, yeah.
And they really aren't determining it's a microburst? I mean,
We need to
when they
have,
reported a tornado in Stafford Springs at the same time, you would think.
right, then that was my hope with reaching out to MEMA and get the meteorologist on site and right now I'm still in the waiting phase to hear the response from that. Essentially.
Right. What, my question, I think this came up in our conversation. If we're gonna ask for some type of reimbursement, if they determine that, do we need to retroactively declare a state of emergency so that the money we expended, which is pretty much just
Is there
payroll?
And I'm not sure if we can technically declare a state of emergency without a the governor declaring a state of emergency.
Yes, we can, we've done the past,
We
yes.
can account for a
Yes.
town emergency. We've
Yes.
done that. Okay. And then maybe that's something we have to look into.
Yes, good, thank you.
But I echo what Craig said, I mean, great job by the town departments. You know, in the face of adversity, they all bundled up and, you know, worked for the better good. I mean, you saw what the fire department, saw Nick Bertrand on the news, very nice, reporting on the car on Stafford.
The car that was covered in trees and live wires.
Yeah, yeah.
So they safely extricated them.
I was out of town, I came back at 8:30 and a highway truck pulled out in front of me, and went, something's wrong.
Yeah.
They're working on Saturday night.
And it's not snowing.
Yeah.
I'm curious, was there other damage other than Hampden Munson that would have hampered National Grid's?
It was just
Ability?
isolated to parts of Wilbraham that adjoin Hampden.
It was just that one area, it
Just that
wasn't
one
all
area,
over Western
just that
Mass?
little triangle between the
Yeah.
two communities. So that's from at least what I was seeing on the maps.
I don't know about Connecticut, northern Connecticut,
I know there was
didn't
reports
see.
of stuff in Connecticut
Yeah.
further down.
So I thought they confirmed there was a tornado in
Yeah.
Stafford Springs.
Yeah.
So,
In Stafford, I thought it was further down in Cromwell, I thought I heard.
In terms of National Grid operations, you know, when they're expecting significant weather, they'll open their, what they call their community, their storm room essentially, right? They'll have community liaisons, they're dedicated and obviously none of that's because it's a thunderstorm that's rolling through and it happened to get severe.
We weren't expecting this.
They were expecting some storms. I mean, you know, we went to that emergency preparedness meeting with National Grid a couple weeks ago. And they were touting their readiness and preparedness for storms, so.
It was good, their marketing was right to speak.
Yeah.
It's where they spent all their money marketing.
no, it's probably-
He just messaged it already.
All right, we have the town accountant, town treasurer, and the town administrator here, so we're gonna catch up on the end of the year fiscal financial situation. What say you?
Well, we're not at the end of the year, that's the first point.
We got 4 more warrants.
We got, a lot of money to spend yet.
Wow, so
Wow.
put it that way.
Boy, you hear that at
Well, a
home,
lot of
don't we hear
them-
that at home on occasion?
A lot of-
Pizza.
a lot of appropriated money that hasn't been used yet, so I'm hoping that that holds up. I don't know if, Mark is gonna load up his ice shed, this, like he does, because we're only 20,000 or so over in snow and ice. And if he's gonna load that up, that'll probably push it up to 50. So I don't know. Haven't seen anything yet, but, we've got the obvious little things that were over, no big deal. A lot of them may be posting errors, so I'm not, you know, town reports $13, payroll service $295. And there's enough money probably in Dick's and mine account to obviously absorb that. I think there's an error, in cruiser maintenance. I talked to Julie about it. I think she posted something, incorrectly. Most of that will end up in salaries. What was the other one she was over in was elections, or not elections.
Yeah, elections are over.
Yeah, elections is over, but, you know, no way we can handle that, and we can move that up to police payroll salary.
Why is elections over though? That's my question. It's not something major, right?
Well, that's what past due we did through the town. The vote, then we were extended on that because we had the 2.5 vote. So that required another full-time cop.
We didn't have the 2.5 vote.
Yes, we did.
Well, yeah, but that was during the regular election, it wasn't
Right.
like a special, I
Right.
mean,
There was nothing out of the ordinary.
One of the things about the elections though is we do get a small reimbursement from the state to help cover the early voting, and that goes right into general fund.
Okay.
So it doesn't offset this, so, but yeah, it's impossible to predict the election expenses totally.
Okay,
And the hours that they spend doing mail-in ballots are increasing every year exponentially. And now all that payroll goes to election expense.
What about employee benefits?
What about it?
Well, it says a negative 85,000.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get 100.
Well, here's the question I have. The town voted $574,217.
Right.
And it showed that on the allocator for a number of months. But then in March, that allocated amount was switched to 551 something.
That's not the allocated, that's the total credits. So you had a post, it looks like you had a
We had a
post.
posting error at the beginning of the fiscal year. And went on for a while, without being, actually, either Don or, town administrator pointed it out, so I made the correction. Cause I had charged $21,000 against, the employee benefits. And it's not even close to the account that it should have been in, so it's not like it was a, wrong number to put in. But, Mark had some encumbered money that, he carried over from last year on contracts that he signed before the end of the fiscal year. So I told him, look, you tell me how much those contracts are, give me copies, and then we'll overdraw the account. And then, we'll allow the money to stay in the account. And then as we do the work in the next fiscal year, we'll use that money to pay it off. Well, I ended up putting it all in the wrong account. So we still had, I did make that kind of correction, but it's not gonna show, it didn't show up until, last week. Was last week we did that, or 2 weeks ago?
Right, but employee benefits, whether it's 571 or 551 or 574, it still shows expended 636 to this point. And I thought we had done some work going up to the fall town meeting to project out what the increases needed to cover it.
Absolutely
What-
did.
what
And
was-
what was the difference?
Yeah.
And it was like we said before the fall town meeting, that number was based on our current health insurance enrollment. New rates, current enrollment. We have a very attractive policy, we've been adding people to the policy constantly.
But I thought they could only add in during the open enrollment period.
No, not when we hire them, or if they have another issue. Oh, my husband's insurance is terminated, all they need is a letter, and they can join anytime. So, yeah, our enrollment has gone way up. We have a very attractive plan, and people are realizing it's better than their spouses, and they're coming over to us.
when is open enrollment?
Open enrollment is, the period's over, it starts just, the policy changes fiscal year.
Okay.
So,
Like March, April,
canvasses
something like that,
everybody
yeah.
in May.
Yeah.
And, by the end of May, she's got all the numbers for that.
So it's almost opposite of our funding schedule then. Like if people open enrollment and then it's in May, right? And we go to town meeting in May.
Well, no, they're signing up to start.
They're starting up for the fiscal year.
Right, but we won't know what those increases are gonna be, right? If people.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Technically, we've already set that number in February.
Right.
Right,
And so
so-
enrollment is hitting after the fact, we
Right.
budgeted for.
Yeah.
That's not where most of our new joiners are coming. Again, they're coming throughout the year because of qualifying events that allows them to enroll, or we have new hires.
Would you say then that's the bulk of
That's
where?
most of the $100,000, yeah,
Yeah.
right there.
But, can I go back? I still don't understand. If the town meeting voted $575,217.
And that number is on the report.
It's not. It's
not.
551,287.
Well, if you look at the detail report.
In the detail, I'll send you the detailed report, John. Don. Yeah. It's on the detailed report, this report just shows what's been allocated and what's been expended, but it should net out. Originally, I had put in 21,000 against that, so that's why it showed the lesser amount. But then I credited it over, so it reversed it,
Oh,
so
I see.
then it disbursements.
So the 570 Don's talking about but there was already a negative amount in the thing, so this
Oh, yeah.
shows.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it's a
Okay.
correction that happened during the
I
year
see.
to change the total, correct?
And it would have changed, it was netted out
Mhm.
into the actual, disbursement and was moved against the highway
Mhm.
department.
If you take a look at the detail report, Donna, it'll become a little more self-explanatory.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
I think the other question is kind of, and it's tough to project, like you say, you have 4 more warrants to close up, the bulk of which are going to be payroll. You know, do you see with a cursory glance over enough opportunity to cover the shortfalls in other accounts with the excesses in the account you have?
Well, yeah, we'll draw them down to the point where it'll affect your free cash. But right now, it says here that we've got, we have 109,000 in unused appropriation.
Yeah, 1 million, yeah, 1.1
1
million, yeah.
1,000,009. Now, some of that includes, town meeting appropriations,
Right.
but some of that'll go by probably pretty quick. So,
The other factor we don't know is, some of the reimbursements, if the chapter 90 money comes in before Cliff has to file with basically, by the end of July. If we get the chapter 90 money, that's a good, what's that, 300, 250?
well, that's how much it's overdrawn. I don't
Yeah.
know how much we've filed for that we're entitled to get the money
Yeah.
back yet.
So, and it's been approved, but it's a question of when the cash comes in.
Yeah.
If that's not reimbursed in time, that goes against free cash.
Yeah.
Right, just like our concern about the MVP money, et cetera, if that doesn't come in, that goes.
You know, so Brian's been very active and proactive in getting that money in and getting some of those grants straightened out.
Yeah.
The information I got originally from previous town administrator was conflicting, incomplete, and downright wrong.
I think Brian is doing a wonderful job of forensic accounting.
My new calling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one thing is that in looking at revenues versus disbursements, we've collected almost $200,000 more to this point than we've dispersed. And that's with whatever might be sitting in unreported, in June.
And I'm assuming you're even greater than that over what you did for anticipated.
Oh, yeah, we're way over from what we anticipated.
You know, that goes right to free cash.
Was there a shortfall in a prior year? Was that last year? There was one, and that wasn't reimbursed and you had to hit free cash. Was that 2 years ago or
No,
last
that
year?
was last year,
So that could be,
16,000.
right, all right. No, there was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, there was like 130 that hit us that carried over.
Well, like if they hit us with anything that's outstanding that we subsequently get, well, okay, that's, if we don't continue to overdraw, that sets up a little better situation next year. I'd like to see each year stand in its own. So we hopefully get that money in. And, we've got at least another week and a little bit longer than that to get everything in.
So actually, you've got 2 payroll warrants and 4 AP warrants to go.
I did ask Mark over the weekend if he thought that the extra overtime for the storm would impact, he said, no, I have more than enough capacity to handle it.
He was shorthanded for a few months, so he's got a little extra.
You built up some
probably
cushion there,
because of it,
yeah.
But, you know, he's a generous guy. He pays double time for Sundays. You know, it's just the snow plowing rules. You know, so those guys are paid well for being out there working hard, long days.
So I think, Don, what was the date we were looking at for, your final closing date was the 15th?
Well, we're gonna have a warrant for Monday and we're gonna have another warrant for the following week, but
We don't meet that day though.
no, that's right. We should go have a warrant through the 15th.
Okay. I think,
With
Don,
not
we're
a-
the
with-
1st and 15th
Yeah,
next month,
not a
right?
lot on it.
First and 15th,
Yeah, not a lot on it.
Okay.
Because that'll probably be just the things people forgot to submit, or they're trying to sneak in against 2025, which we'll Sue will catch. We'll go from there. I mean, it's numbers, we can't change what is.
Cliff, Jane asked me today if there would be a 25 warrant on July 1st.
No,
Okay,
Have the free cash discussion or not?
Right now? No? Or when?
Brian, did you hear that?
What's that?
The first FY 25 warrant will be on the 7th.
Okay, I checked with one of the big bills we have is insurance, obviously,
And they're used to
and
it.
it's due August 1st.
Oh, yeah,
I thought,
good shot.
To bind coverage is due by August. Well, they're gonna bind coverage now, but it's due August
Or
1st.
something.
July 1, I think.
Retirement, right?
If we pay
Yeah,
retirement
retirement.
early, we get a discount or something.
Oh, yeah.
5%, yeah,
Yeah, it's a good deal.
At that number, it's real money.
yep, it
Yeah,
sure
it's
is.
$7,000, $8,000.
We still appropriate the full amount, but we get the 5% left in the checking account.
What was it up to this year? 600, 700, wasn't it?
And
709.
And cash flow is very similar to last year. I actually checked all the general fund accounts and we're within $100,000 of where we were at this time last year. And, we're over, a little over 2 million in general fund cash, so, it's within the margin of error, so to speak.
So the checks are clearing.
The checks are clear. I had to take 100,000 out of a high yield account today and it broke my heart.
Most of your money in Bitcoin right now, is that what it is?
Be smart.
If I can get 5% on a savings account, why would I bother taking risk?
That sounds good.
Yeah, that'll show up pretty good in our revenue because we've been raking it in on.
Yeah, last year we were making 1,500 a month on interest and now we're making like 16,000.
Yeah. Yep. Don, I'll send you that as soon as I get home.
Okay, well, thank you.
Actually, I could go print it out here and give it to you.
That'd be nice.
Okay, I'll do that.
Besides your,
He's salaried, it doesn't cost any extra for him to do it.
obviously we got big decisions to make for the fall town meeting. And the sooner we have hard numbers on warrant articles, the more time we'll have to figure that out. And I'm not saying in the next couple of weeks, obviously, the free cash number is the first thing we need, and that's over a month away. But we gotta figure out how we're gonna deal with $1.5 million, what combination of borrowing, free cash and tax rate. So we're gonna wanna be, as soon as we have hard numbers, we and the advisory are probably gonna have to have a little planning session, figure out what to do.
I mean, that's part of our plan to have this quarterly financial review.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
The dates need a little bit of massaging though.
Yeah, they might just,
Arbitrary. And the April one, unless you have a birthday cake for me, I'm not coming.
All right, we'll bring you cake.
16 never looked so good, Dick, thank you.
Birthday cookies,
Wrote that down for April.
cake.
I guess that's it, thanks.
I just have something personal to alert you to.
Yeah.
My 52-year-old niece in Nova Scotia has been given 4 to 5 weeks to live.
Oh, well,
But she's just loaded with cancer. But she's chosen assisted suicide, which is legal in Canada. So she's gonna pick her date of death, so it won't be so when we find out what that is, we find out when the services are, we'll head out for as little a time as we can get away from it. It's a 15-hour drive, but,
It's gonna be at least a week your way.
I hope not. But if it is, it is, and I'll have my computer with me, there's things I can do working from there. But it's bad timing, I know, but we don't plan those things.
No.
52 years old,
Terrible.
but you know what, there's something to be said about choosing your date of death.
Okay.
Something about it, if you know, make everything right.
They're gonna be surprised.
The only nice thing would be,
You want us all to be surprised.
I know what my spend rate could be, but I'll go on broke. That would be kinda nice. Anything else?
so thank you,
I'll print
gentlemen.
that out, I'll print that out for you, Don.
Thank you. Vacation rollover requests. We just have, we just marked
Just
that one.
Mark, yeah.
Yeah, Mark did mention, I think I shared with the board, he was supposed to be off today, he wasn't sure if he was actually gonna take that day off. Based on,
Yeah, he was
so, there may be, if he can't find a way to use it this week, he did say, could we add one day to his rollover because of the emergency, he couldn't use up one day he planned on using up. So I would, if he's not sure if he can do it this week, I would say if we could write it to use rollover up to 6 days, I think that'd be appropriate. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The letter I asked Brian to, draft a letter to the Hampden Wilbraham Regional School District requesting reimbursement for the $9,900 that we spent in, for repairs, because according to the lease, they're supposed to pay for the repairs. So, if we, the approval to send that, we'll send it and see what happens.
I'm against that. I think we set a budget last year, as we've done for the past 25 years, Don, which you were chair for 3 of them. We told them they had this money to spend, and here we are at the 11th hour saying, by the way, I know we told you that we had this, you had this money, you sent us the bills, we signed off on them, but we were wrong. I think, in my mind, the appropriate thing to do would say, look, we think maybe we've gone the wrong way with this. Next year, at the fall town meeting, we're going to zero that line in. Please don't plan on using it in the future.
I'm not comfortable with sending the letter, only because I think it's our fault, personally. I think we should have done better, you know, all of us, not just an individual thing. Obviously, we know better going forward, and we should admit it now. But, you know, Aaron did make the comment last week that, you know, I'm not in the business of turning down money when it comes at me. So I have a feeling that they would fight it anyway. I see your point, and I think it's great you found this, Don, because it's gonna help us out in the future. I'm not comfortable with sending it out and having it be maybe be within this department's oversight. Maybe it shouldn't have happened.
I like the facts presented in the letter, and I think it's good to put them on record, but I think we could close with, look, we're not happy with this happened. In the future, we're
Maybe,
not going
yeah,
that
send
way.
a letter and let them know that, you know, this is,
Yeah,
maybe
the end, right.
no longer continuing.
Well, my position simply is, it's, the lease says we shouldn't pay it, and we shouldn't pay it, we should say we want our money back.
I understand that.
We paid it for years, we know it was a mistake, but we're correcting our mistake, we want the money back. So, I doubt that they'll give it to us, but I just think we give in to them too much, you know? And I think they, at times, as much as I've supported them, they can take a stance that Hampden is, we don't have to pay attention to them. So, I just think it's a way of getting our, saying to them, look, we're part of this partnership, and, you know, the lease says this. And, I mean, there's been a number of things that are in the agreement that we don't, agreement and the lease that we don't pay attention to, or haven't paid attention to. And it's no one's fault, you know, everyone's busy, they look at it, things are running, you know, I mean, it's, you know, but I'll defer to whatever you gentlemen want.
Again, I think the bulk of it is good. I think the research, the documentation is good. I'd like to end it with, even if you want to say, we could call for this money back, but in the interest of cooperation, we're just letting you know that the door to the vault is closed or whatever.
Yeah.
You wanna say,
fine,
right.
fine. If we go to town meeting in the fall and take the money out,
Right. Yeah, we zeroed that line.
I would agree with that.
can you change the letter? Yeah, he agrees with me. All right. That's it. Next item.
Oh, sorry, while you're on that subject though, do you wanna give a quick report on, our meeting
Oh,
last
yeah,
night?
all right. So we met with the Hampden Wilbraham Regional School District to discuss the future of Thornton Burgess and what their intention is to do with it. We learned that as of January 1st, 2025, the building will be vacant. And so we agreed that the superintendent would speak to the town administrator, relative to what process would be needed to, if the lease was terminated, how we would get the building back. In the meantime, we've engaged Ty and Bond to do a assessment of the building in terms of what the physical structure is fine, but we get the mechanical and some of the other things, so that we get an idea what it would cost or how you could change it if the building was there. Two of the regional school district members were a little concerned. They wanted to hang on to the building because they said, well, we don't know what our plan is gonna be. And my point was, well, you need to have a plan to make a plan, and right now you don't have a plan to make a plan.
Right.
So we're gonna go forward with our assessment, and we'll see what happens from there. That's what, and we're gonna meet again with them, so at some point.
I was distressed, and I think I made the point during the meeting, Don, you and your committee worked so hard with strategic planning. And as soon as there was some
pushback,
opposition
a little
to it,
pushback.
and having been around,
Yeah.
you're never gonna get 100%,
No.
percent of the people to agree with it. So to say, oh my gosh, some people were against it, you had to figure that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
And you're looking for the betterment of the people, the better will, the whatever, and just, I wanna say, what's the term they use, courage or conviction?
Yeah.
Perhaps,
I mean, the situation was that the main thing was moving the 8th grade to the high school to relieve the overcrowding at the middle school. And the term overcrowding, you have to understand, if you went to the middle school, you would see that there is no library because they have 3 classrooms in there. That's by overcrowding. There's
I was trying to
certain
make the point, too.
certain special ed students are having their classes held in closets or janitor's closets.
And to my point of what I stated, that specials or the exploratory programs would offer a full range of them because they don't have the space to offer these other curriculums that they would need to meet the strategic plan.
So that's where we are.
I think we definitely put our point across, and I think Craig brought up some great points about it slid from the lease into the educational
Yeah.
structure and whichever, which may not have been the purpose way there, but it was good to let them know that we were aware of what was going on.
Well, my whole purpose of bringing up some of the educational structure was the point of a lot of the stuff that was in the strategic plan is kind of slipping based on the current structure. And they have utilizations issues that they need to make decisions on. So my point of bringing up the curriculum is to say, you have options to fix these curriculum challenges, but you're not making the tough decisions. You know, when they were asked, well, there's a value to the building to Hampden. Well, yes, there's a value to the building to Hampden if we were to utilize it. There's also a value to the Hampden Wilbraham Regional School District if they were to utilize it. But we're not making the decision. They are the ones that need to make the decision to either make the programming happen or fish and cut bait, as you were said eloquently.
Colloquial expression, exactly.
All right.
And it was a good opportunity to meet with them, and we appreciate that. Should be more often.
Zoom operators.
So we've received 4 resumes. We've interviewed 3 individuals, and the individuals that we would recommend to be appointed to the Zoom operator pool are in your packet. And those are Elijah Webster, Michelle Miodowski, and Reese Kulig.
So, how would this work?
That's the next conversation that I wanted to have. In terms of supervision, I'd recommend that the person's under the general supervision of the town administrator, but the direct supervision of the board or committee chair who's running the meeting. My proposal would be that their pay would come out of the budget of the board or committee that's using them, unless we have another account. What do you think about that?
I prefer temp help, because I mean, they haven't budgeted for extra hours for that type of thing. I think it'd be a minimal impact of temp help.
I think temp help would be appropriate now, but maybe going forward for next fiscal cycle is if we budget some extra hours if they want.
I mean, because they already have a clerk that's budgeted to cover those meeting times, and now we're saying, oh, you need a second person at, so obviously that's not in their hours,
Yeah.
And our plan is to have all three on a rotation as needed.
Yep, so my thought would be that they would make the board of committee chair or whoever would make the request to the town administrator at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. And we would do it on a rotating basis.
Actually, police contract, who gets
Yeah.
called first, right?
But but only the part-timers can do it and only up to 18 off. I'm just kidding. Oh, we're gonna buy them uniforms.
Oh, on Zoom?
Yeah.
Right.
Each one's gonna get,
We don't get it, still,
it's gonna be a draw account, is that a problem?
yeah, right.
When do they start?
As soon as we appoint them, they could start.
Mhm.
There's a planning board hearing on Wednesday. We have the job description, job description's been
Planning
adopted.
board hearing Wednesday?
No, yeah, it's this Wednesday, yeah, yeah,
It's not, I don't think it's a lengthy one.
no, it's, I think they're pushing it, but it's posted.
Oh, are they? Okay.
And Brian, you
Outside
vetted all
email.
three candidates, you said?
Yep.
There's a conservation commission tomorrow, and they don't know if they're gonna have a Zoom operator,
Okay.
Yeah,
because Ted might not be.
they're gonna be
able to make it.
requesting
Okay.
a continuance because they didn't get the drainage yet anyhow.
What?
They're gonna continue.
It was already advertised, the way you go.
And these procedures that we're talking about, I'll get those in writing.
Well, you can't complain about having somebody from Mountain Road, I mean, shoot, Craig can make it, they can make it. Pick them up on the way
He's a
down.
good kid.
Is that, I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, forget it. It wasn't Cossack's house, was it?
I don't know who that is.
How much we paying them?
You predating yourself?
Level one, step one, which is $16 an hour. I was thinking 1 hour minimum, unless we want to pay him like $8 for showing up for half an hour.
I got a contract again about the minimum calling, huh?
I think we can do it.
Callback pay is,
$15 minimum.
I think the hour minimum is.
Okay, we have a motion for approval.
Move to appoint Elijah Webster, Michelle Madowski. Is that Reese Kulik?
Yeah.
Reese Kulik to, Zoom operator under direction of the town administrator.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well, we have some other appointments this evening as well.
One quick point, just looking at Reese's, resume there. Is there anything Reese could do for you in updating the website?
Possibly.
You know,
We still have
I'm just
to,
saying, looks like, you know,
we still have to pay that bill.
I'm just saying, I mean, I was asking where we were with the website upgrade, and I think,
Have to wait till new fiscal year, right?
Well, we have to pay that bill, whether it comes out of
that's this year, though, yeah.
this year or next year. And actually, the Michelle has a lot of public access TV experience. So,
We have, another appointment, one for the fire department, Megan Rogers, which was in their last list. And we have on the ambulance committee, Donna Hatch, Robin Warner, and Ida Gilday. My understanding is that Jim Smith and Laurie Beth can't serve any longer, they don't wanna serve any longer.
Oh,
Laurie Beth just said she didn't have the time, and Jim said he's not gonna serve us any longer, so. And then we have Shelley Sears for the animal control officer, and, Paul Morrissey as the alternate, if he's here. And then the cultural council, we have Pam Courtney, Diane Mackey, and Virginia Blake.
that's staggering, huh?
Yeah.
Guess not. Make a motion to appoint everyone to the dates set forth in their appointment slips as per the chairman's list.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the selectmen's reports.
We had a building committee meeting this morning at the senior center. Bit of a recap and going forward analysis. The committee did discuss, you know, what needs to be presented if they're coming back in the fall. What was the sense? They'd like to work with EDM on perhaps a smaller model going forward. They do need some money to engage with EDM for that. So they asked me to bring forward a request for $9,800. That would be enough to engage EDM for a refigure, if you will. I also would like to come and meet with the board next week on the 1st. That would be, Gary Weiner was, Don did step down as chair, Don Collins. And Gary Weiner is now chair. And Don and I think John Matthews would like their appointment with the board on the 1st, meeting on the 1st. And provide an update to the board on where they're going, where the committee sees them direction. So, basically bringing forth the fact that if they're looking for a new plan, a revised plan, a consolidated plan, they're gonna need some money to go to EDM with that. And they'd like to get some direction from the board where they want them to go.
Well,
What about the Friends account that they were collecting all the Heart Springs stuff from? Is that an option to use some of those funds?
Well, the Friends account, I mean, right now,
Match our account.
right now, they're looking to accumulate that money for a sizable donation towards construction. You
where are we
know,
gonna get the money, where would we get the money from?
well, we're giving selectmen expense, for, obviously that's refigured at the beginning of the year. Like last year, we planned on the 5,000 for the, I think the wetland survey, which never was actually donated and didn't need to be used.
Is that, they got
But that could
13,
be, this is just a heads up type thing for next week.
okay, they got 1378 left in theirs with the 60,000.
Mhm.
And 14.
Probably haven't covered them, like Cliff said, he hasn't done all the bills yet. I think with these people, I think when these people quote a number, they plan on billing for the whole thing. Wow, that is some kind of bull.
Yeah, so next week we'll decide on the 9,800.
Yeah, and get them, like I say, let them bring us up to speed on,
You have anything else to report?
looking forward to the planning board meeting on Wednesday. And it was quite fun seeing you at the planning board meeting last week when we did I was Zoom and you were battery. Assault and battery, if you
So,
will.
sir?
I have nothing to report, just everything I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, anybody have a report back from the master plan? Actually, not really.
Well, I do.
Well, you were here.
Contacts until,
I will say, to make the point to Brian, I would like to see if there's a way to get that video on the town YouTube channel.
it is, I believe, isn't it?
No, it's
It's
the
not on the
SharePoint,
YouTube
it's a
channel?
SharePoint
Oh, it's
link.
a SharePoint.
I would also like to attend the next one, so maybe we get them to not schedule it on a Monday.
Okay, well, we're meeting Wednesday, so we can figure that schedule.
No,
out.
this is a meeting, not a forum.
Right, yeah, we're meeting Wednesday, okay? And, they had about 20, you were there, 20, give us a report.
20 to, well, we had, our first public meeting with VHB, the consultant. And, we had, I'm gonna say 20 in the room and 3 or 4 online. And, they made their presentation and then asked for, there was a discussion. It wasn't planned to have a discussion, but we had a discussion about some thoughts people had, about what they wanted to see. And then toward the end of the meeting, after that discussion, they had breakout sections for 4 or 5, I guess probably 6 or 7 of the main subject matter that we're trying to get to, history and roads and transportation, all that stuff. And they had whiteboards and people broke out and went up and filled in, their thoughts on paper. And it was a little bit disappointing there wasn't more people, but for the people that were there, I think it was productive. And that they got, for the first public meeting, the consultant got kind of a feel for what people are, what people's thoughts are. And I think the big thought is that people want to keep the town you know, they wanna keep the town the way it is. You know, there's obviously, there's a whole mess of a big tree that, to keep the town the way it is, you know, you need to do some things. And to draw people in, you need to do some things, but they like the country atmosphere, and that's kind of that was the big thing. There was also, of the 20 people, of the 23 people, I didn't see the people obviously online, but of the people in the room, I'm gonna say 17 of them were like my age. Or, well, over 50, whatever it is. And in fact, I think they had a quick discussion about that. There was a married couple that was up in the back that were younger, but mostly it was an older group, which,
In terms of the people though, how many were not engaged with the town before? That's to me a better number. If you're saying you had 20 people there and you'd never seen 15 of them before, that would have been terrific.
there were more than a few newbies.
That's
Because
true.
I, you know, I was down in front and a couple of people came up to me after. Because there was a little bit of a brief discussion in the beginning about the process. The VHB wanted to do their breakouts. There was at least one individual in the back that wanted to do it a different way. And so we had a kind of an interaction there, and the people came up after and said, you know, they were interested in seeing what was going on, and they were glad they came, and there was probably, I'm gonna say 3 that I knew of, and maybe a few more than that were engaged.
Oh, good.
So percentage-wise, it's not great, but it's our first meeting, first public meeting.
No, I think it's terrific. We talk about the advisory hearing we have, and we might have one person at the hearing that's not on a town committee or has served. And to have that much new engagement, I think is terrific.
Yeah, I think so.
And there's a survey out,
There's a survey out,
right?
online, and we're working on getting that into a few different places, and I think physically they wanna put one out.
Right.
I was gonna bring up on Wednesday that I don't know if they wanted to do it. You know, we put some stuff in the paper before, in the Wilbraham Times, you can put an insert for not a lot of money, $150 or $160, you can put an insert, and that survey would go to everybody in town who gets the paper. But it's a physical copy, so that would have to be
Now you have the return boxes.
collected,
Yeah,
and then,
That's fine.
you know,
who's going to correlate
is
it,
that gonna be
basically, yeah.
them, and you know, so,
We'll see how many responses you get, right?
but if
Is it
you,
on the town website?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
you know, if you have 2,000 residents, I don't know how many people get the paper, but let's say it's a couple thousand. If you had 200 or 300, that's, you know, a pretty nice response, 10-15%.
Yeah,
You'd have to have somebody transfer that information.
You just wanna give every opportunity for them to respond in any way.
Correct.
you know?
Yeah.
I think the thing I'm hearing here though, and then I saw the same thing at the fiber optic meeting, was not a lot of the younger generation is able to get out or goes out. And how do we reach that populace of town who's gonna be the next generation in Hampden? You know, I'd love to get some
Right.
engagement from those individuals as well.
One of the people in the back did say, you know, when you have a meeting at 6 o'clock, was that meeting at 6 or was it 7?
Just
6
6
o'clock. You know, the younger people are maybe still working, they're just getting home and eating dinner, and maybe the meeting's too early. So that's, I'm not gonna say that solves everything, but it could be that if you move that back, you might get a few more.
I've
But I
heard it
think
both, but I've heard it both ways too, you know, 7 o'clock,
You go
too
too
late.
late and then bedtime. and
I'm with you, I
you know,
understand. I'm
Should
just saying
we focus on weekend meetings, or now you're interrupting?
At least the
people's
advantage is that now with school being out, they can't say, well, my gosh, I got school issues. But like Craig said, we're talking about this weekend thing. We're talking about afternoons and we were talking, you know,
Yeah, I mean, the
What's-
weekend thing could be totally bust too,
Yeah,
but you know,
right.
it's an idea to explore. I mean, it's apparent, you know, the last 3 years I've been on the board, looking at the engagement, the involvement from, you know, younger generations. It's hard.
you wanna hand out a flyer, come here on Monday morning when the parents are bringing the kids for playgroup. You probably have, Lauren, 30, 40 parents coming.
We don't have enough
Hand
child
up-
studies.
No, I'm saying, hand out a flyer to each one of them.
You probably do
hand
it
out more.
when you get them in line up here at the Green Meadows.
That's what I thought
You
you were
can
gonna
walk
say.
down, walk
Car
down
to
the
car.
line, car,
Done
sure.
the
Put it on the
Yeah.
windshield.
Yeah,
They don't hand out flyers anymore in the school, so you gotta.
no, they don't, yeah.
We could talk Wednesday, Don, about whether or not it makes sense to put the insert, and maybe, you know, I'll hand out flyers if we need to hand out flyers, I could put on a mask and.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But you don't hand them out at fiscal year, whatever.
Too late.
Town administrator report,
So Mark asked me to bring up, the idea of him hiring out tree crew, right? He says a lot of the damage up there that it would take him a while to get to. Who did he say, Rocky Mountain?
Rocky Mountain.
Rocky Mountain, had approached him with, I guess they have some equipment that would make it easier to get through it, but that's gonna come at a cost, obviously. And he was trying to feel out whether the town had an appetite for that or not.
what's the tree warden up to?
I don't know.
Gotta be out of money, and here we are the last week of the
The,
year.
the tree warden does not have
What kind of money?
money in the account. I don't think he said how much.
No.
He didn't say how much. I did advise Mark, I said, anything that's a safety concern or a hazard, get it done, however he has to get it done.
Right.
If anything above and beyond that, I mean, if he thinks that it's required, you know, it might behoove the board to kind of say, yeah, let's figure it out to get it done. But, I didn't wanna make those decisions singly.
Well, the one good thing is, and I think, Don, you were looking that way when you talked about the tree warden, is that the bill would come in July. So the account is fresh at that point. And I think it'd be important if Mark and Dana got together and both agreed on it, then it basically is tree warden money,
Yeah,
you know, because it's public safety.
right.
So, I
But
think-
he says these people are waiting now, and they're available now.
right, but they're still not gonna get billed until July,
Right,
so.
but he's looking for an answer, I think, relatively now.
Well, I think right now, if he's talking, and here, go back, we could do the same thing, say you need $10,000 to clean up the tree damage, great. And in the fall, we add 10,000 back into the tree
Yeah,
account.
yeah, I think
Right.
that's really great.
So I think you just tell them, go ahead and get it
And
done.
I did tell him and the police chief and everybody to track hours, just in case if there's anything down the road
Right.
that we need to
I
account
mean,
for.
what the heck, we put $100,000 in once.
Right,
Moving
but I think the key point right now would be, get it done, make sure they bill us after the first.
Yeah.
Right, so it doesn't, all of a sudden we're scrambling on the 30th,
Right.
oh, here's 10,000, we're gonna take care of it.
You got that, Brian? Yeah. You wanna relay that, or you want me to talk more?
I can let him know. I was surprised when I drove up to Bennett Road and then I drove back down Munson Road, North Munson, whatever road that is,
Glendale?
Glendale?
Did you go all the way through Bennett, or?
Yeah, all the way through Bennett.
So
And
you
again,
came
North Munson to Glendale.
Yeah. I was surprised by the overhang of all the trees on that National Grid doesn't take care of. I was just really surprised by that.
It's the same thing on North Road, when you go through the S curves, you could be pretty surprised there.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't take a lot for one of those huge oak limbs to take out the
Right.
wires or pole.
I wonder
And
if there's a minimum height requirement that they're supposed to be doing for over the power lines, you know?
yeah, I mean, where I live in the town that I was in, Eversource had just done a huge clearing. It was controversial because they cut back
A lot.
pretty far.
Yeah.
But the good thing is there's less power
power
outages.
outages.
Yeah,
Well, if you're looking for that type of information, I think we should schedule Dana in, and he can give,
I think it would be off that day.
really, yeah, you haven't got that kind of time. Also with the highway, we have retirement this week, and I can't remember, is it Thursday? I think they're planning
Friday.
something for Friday. Lauren,
Friday.
Right?
it
Friday,
was Friday.
Yeah, 'cause his work day is
Lauren up
Friday.
there,
So that was at noon?
no,
Yeah.
What else you got?
I have a call with possible new cable council that was supposed to be this morning. That got moved to tomorrow at 9:30. That's August and Epstein. We have a call to talk about the installation of the EV chargers at the senior center. There was some concern about placement of the EV cabinet. And we should have conversations about that in screening. I think, John, if you can jump on that, I
yeah,
think you're
they
planning
got
to
pushed
jump
to
on that.
Wednesday, if you went by and saw the orange pole forest on the front lawn, the agreement was it would be over by the trees, not in the middle of the lawn. And how it got, the charging stations are against the trees, but the transformers in the middle of the lawn, more bollards than I think they have at Big Y protecting, the store. So,
Propane tanks.
propane tank, more than a propane tank, seriously, so.
Yeah,
You look at the generator they have behind the senior center, there's two bollards there. So, it's a conversation. The reality is, I don't wanna use a colloquial expression, it's done. It's easier to beg for forgiveness than ask permission. What do you, the pad's poured, these are in, we're so sorry,
And again, they're money from the state.
so you're gonna wonder. But there are some good questions we're looking for answers on that Gary brought up about servicing, who's responsible, something goes wrong, that type of thing. So we're expecting answers from Jerry on that, right? And his compatriot,
Yeah, he ignored my second email,
I saw that.
but we'll talk to him on Wednesday.
Mhm.
Been working with town council on the SBA tower leases so that we can net out the public safety payments that are that we pay for the village drive tower, commercial drive tower.
No matter how much it goes up, the other part covers it basically.
Yep.
Yep.
So that should be some savings next fiscal year as well. And I'm also working with town council on the backlog of reimbursable unemployment charges that are against the town's account. Going back to like 2018, we really need to sort through that. And just continue to wrap up any grants that need to be wrapped up and request reimbursements as soon as we can get it. So free cash can be as high as it can be.
About the grants, John mentioned to me, I think yesterday, that there's a concern about one of the grants that might push back the work at the district.
Yeah.
So,
You wanna take it over? From what John was explaining to me was the grant that Ty and Bond applied for us, that we authorized them to apply for, won't have a notification period until September. But they applied for a high dollar amount, so it would cover the whole project.
phase A and B?
Yeah.
Yes,
They cover for anything, any horizontal costs, right?
yes.
So we would cover the vertical costs and that grant would cover all the horizontal costs.
Will be all the connections and
Yeah.
the existing system.
So, so if we did any work prior to that, it would take us out of the running for the grant?
Reimbursable.
You have to wait until it's either awarded or not before you start the project, apparently.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that, if we get the grant, that we don't have to go for funding in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
But, if the deadline's September, I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
we close to closing the warrant, grant notification.
Good.
The
Well-
deadline for their announcing the grant?
Yeah,
the
their
notification
window
is
to
September.
announce the
Is
award.
this a state or federal grant?
State grant, wasn't it?
This is a one-stop grant.
One stop.
Some stuff, okay.
And related to that, Time Bond submitted the permit to modify the water system, the Mass DEP. That's also a requirement before we could start the work
Here, phase two,
for phase 1 and phase 2.
yes.
But I don't know if there's any reason why we can't work with Time Bond to get all the bidding documents ready, whether it's 1 or 2. We should be able to have everything ready to go, pending that
And realistically, it's
announcement.
not that far out, if you think about it. I mean, summer didn't fly by.
No, but I think somebody should reach out to Dan Hall and let him know this is what's happening. We told Dan, and he certainly would understand. Obviously, he wanted us to apply for anything, but let him know, hey, by the way, this is a date we're working with now. And I'm sure DEP, but keeping them in the loop, we're all good.
How does that fold in with Doug Payne?
Same thing. So I think if we CC Doug, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like I say, if they know ahead of time, they're not upset. If you tell them afterwards, now they're, why didn't you tell me?
And then there's the off chance that, so there's also the state revolving fund for clean water for projects like this. And
Low interest loan.
it would be PFAS projects are zero interest, with principal forgiveness of 6%. The timing will be an issue. The way that program operates is applications are submitted by the end of July to be placed on what's called the intended use plan, which is finalized in January, and then awards are made sometime next summer. So that puts us 12 months out before we would even know. The one option that we can explore is whether we can, or whether Mass DEP is willing to declare it as an emergency project. And if it's an emergency project, then we don't have to go through that process where we get listed on the intended use plan and then wait. So that, I know that was a that was something that Jen Gilbert had mentioned from Time Bond, that she was gonna reach out to Mass DEP to see if they had any appetite for that.
Speaking of time bond, you told me to go ahead with that, the assessment thing. Did they give you any kind of date?
Not yet, no.
All right.
I can reach back out.
TWB.
Yep.
Anything else to come before the board? I would therefore entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss the litigation, determine that an open meeting will be detrimental to effect in this case involves Cronin versus the Town of Hampden.
Without a
We
return.
now return to public session.
So moved.
Second.
John Flynn, aye.
Now that, Brian,
Craig Rivers, aye.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, Dalton.
Have a good night.
Right,
Thank you, gentlemen.